In a previous video, I took a look at a fairly cheap plug-in router for extending your Wi-Fi network, or in the case of this one, it also had the ability to take a network cable in and act as an access point. I decided, having been impressed with that circuitry, to take a look at AliExpress's cheapest Wi-Fi repeater for less than $5 shipped. And this little unit plugs into a USB power source, and it's got two antennas that can be swung up and positioned as you desire. I'm not sure how much of a difference that really makes. It probably does make a difference. It has a button here which has two functions. It's the WPS button for pairing with a existing router, but also if you press and hold this for 10 seconds while it's powered and then release it, it will do a full reset back to factory default settings. It's got a couple of LEDs under here, blue and green. The orange one mentioned in the manual is non-existent as far as I can see. I have already opened this up, but I shall open it again for your pleasure here. I won't go into the setup of this because I'll go into that in the description below this video, because there are some quirks that you may find helpful. There is the little button on the back. There are some programming port pins on the back, I would guess. And then the other side is the circuitry, and I can give you a close-up of this because I've already opened this and burst the wee clips. Don't open yours, it's the clips burst off. This one's going to have to get held together with sticky tape from now on. But they're slightly less than the previous versions, so I shall show you the circuit board. I'll put that out the way and zoom down onto this. Focus and zoom. Let's have a little tour of the circuit board. So we have the USB connector, and it's notable that the two data pins are connected. Maybe this also acts as a Wi-Fi adapter for your laptop or something like that. Although, would you trust plugging something bit rubber ducky-ish into your computer that could do nefarious things? Am I being cynical? Is it just because I'm quite old and I've seen the dawn of the internet onwards that I don't 100% trust things like this? Because I know that this memory chip here is actually quite high capacity, relatively speaking, for assembly code and stuff like that, and you can fit a lot into it. But anyway, I digress. Here is the negative going to the ground plane. Here's the positive going straight to a little regulator. It's a buck regulator with an inductor, and that creates a 3.3 volt supply for the rest of the circuitry. The main magic is done by a MediaTek chip, an MT7628KN. You can easily find a datasheet for MT7628 MediaTek, and it is basically router on a chip. It's got a little oscillator here for accurate timing, and then it's got those characteristic little inductor and capacitor paths of black magic that lead up to these coaxial connectors. There's the two LEDs, one blue, one green. Absolutely none of them are orange, as hinted at in the instructions. And it's got two antennas. Is one the transmit and one the receive? That could be it, because the other unit had four antennas and two of them were transmit and two were receive. I reckon, since this is just single frequency 2.4 gigahertz, one is a transmit and one is a receive antenna, but I could be wrong here. This down here is a 25Q16CSIG 16 megabit flash memory chip. Now, in the other unit, incidentally, 16 megabit, not byte, 16 megabit is equivalent for 8-bit use of 2 megabyte. But that's a lot of memory. You can write a lot of code. If you're writing in raw code, that's just a massive amount of memory. But I'm wondering, because the other unit had RAM, high-speed RAM, and it was a very good possibility that it took the program out of this chip and put it into the RAM so it could run it at high speed, because this is not a fast memory chip. But this one, maybe the fact that it's just purely a dedicated router chip, well, the other one was as well, router, whatever you call it. We call it router in the UK, you call it router in America and other countries. But I wonder if the fact that this one is just doing a very, very basic repeater function means that all it's really using this for is the basic parameter setup and also storing passwords and the network names. What else is there to say about this? It is very rudimentary. Everything is done by this chip. Now, am I being cynical? Is it just because I'm old that I don't trust these things too much? I think I'm wise doing that. But having said that, this works as a repeater. You can connect it to your existing network. It just adds X onto the end of the name, uses the same password. I'll cover that in the description down below. And it's fast enough to watch high resolution videos on YouTube, which is basically what you need. Not suitable for gaming, but for YouTube and other stuff like that, it's fine. If you just trust it from a security perspective. Now, the previous one, someone did a wee look at the EEPROM, I believe, should I say the flash memory, and said it contained a variant of OpenWRT, which is an open source router type bit of software. And if that's the case, then there's a good chance it is relatively down to earth, but there are no firmware updates for security updates. But then again, this is very limited. The pages it's got stored in here are basically just a couple of menus for setting up the most basic functions. There's no super mega functionality like you might find in a full-size router. But that is it. It's impressive. Tiny little circuit board. Power consumption is around about 150 milliamps at the 5 volts, which equates to roughly, well, less than a watt. So it's not going to create much of a drain. And I could see uses for things like this as a disposable item. It'd be good for travel where if you accidentally left it behind, it doesn't matter. Or if you wanted to dangle it in some location with a cable wrapped in a plastic bag and just sniff some internet access from somewhere else and then buffer it up to yourself. That would be very useful for that, he said, failing to contain the fact he was smirking inside as he said that, because that's exactly crap I used to do when I was travelling. But there we have it. It's very neat. It will be stuck back together with sticky tape, and I shall try this out. I've already tested it. It worked very well. But if you can get past the slight security risks, what do you guys think about that? Let me know in the comments down below. Do you think something like this is a safe item to use? Because I know that there are people in the technical community who can do evil things in a memory this size while still giving full functionality. But other than that, pretty neat. Very, very impressive that this can just be crushed into a little unit and shipped for less than $5. That is very impressive.